I'm Giorgos Ganias from the University of Athens, and I'll be talking to you about our work, talking to users in VR, assessing different communication methods. Okay, so first of all, in VR user studies, user evaluation is essential. Most subjective data collection is mostly done by questionnaires and interviews, which are mostly conducted post-immersion. Well, the problem with that is that we only rely on memory recall after participants have removed the headset. And this removal itself causes what's called the break in presence, reminding users of the physical world and reducing the reliability of their feedback. Okay, so some words about what breaks in presence are. Breaks in presence refer to the moments where users shift awareness from the virtual environment to the real world. And this can happen due to distractions, technical issues, or inconsistencies between the expectations and the actual virtual environment. They are essentially an alternative way to assess presence, meaning the sense of actually being in a virtual space rather than the physical one. Breaks in presence have the potential to impair user experience, distort experimental results, and they can have a different intensity and recovery times. Okay, a known solution to breaks in presence for questionnaires is actually embedding them inside the virtual reality. Research shows that in VR questionnaires lead to more consistent responses, reduced disorientation, and shorter study duration. Participants also find them less invasive, and they are in general more reliable than post-immersion questionnaires. So what about interviews? Interviews face the same challenges as they are mostly conducted post-immersion. If an evaluator talks to the participant from the physical world during immersion, it can trigger break in presence. And the methods like the Think Aloud protocol are also unnatural for the VR, since the users cannot see the evaluator, and talking to someone which is non-existent in their virtual reality is pretty unnatural. And our idea was to explore in VR interviews with a representation of the evaluator present inside the virtual reality. This can preserve immersion while still collecting valuable insights, but we have to be careful not to break presence again, as interviews are more complex and more engaging than questionnaires. So to test this, we compared the three different approaches. The first one is the voice speaker, which is audio only, like talking to an Alexa speaker. The second one is the video screen, which adds the visual cues, which is like a video conferencing app, like a live video feed. And the 3D avatar, which adds the presence of the evaluator together with the user inside his environment, or his or her environment, sorry. So these methods have different levels of social presence, and we evaluated them in terms of realism, preference, breaks in presence, and overall user comfort. So we recruited 38 participants of different ages and different VR experience. The evaluator was always in another room to avoid breaks in presence that would happen from listening to the evaluator from the physical world. Actually, this image that you can see is the real setup, and the big, long black line is the cable, because we use an HTC Pro I, sorry. And actually, the evaluator was me, and the cable spanned from the room 1 2 rooms ahead. So it was pretty fun setup. Anyway. All right, so each participant for the procedure completed 3 sessions of 24 pick and place tasks. During the tasks, all methods remained open for communication. After each session, we conducted a short in-VR interview about the tasks using the active communication method. At the end of all sessions, participants filled an in-VR questionnaire comparing the communication methods, followed by a post-immersion debrief interview. Okay, so we recorded both performance and behavior. We recorded the task duration and accuracy, in VR interview duration, and the eye fixations during the tasks and during the in VR interviews. So for the performance results, we found no significant differences in task duration or accuracy across methods. And for the duration of the interviews, we found out that they lasted longer with the 3D avatar compared with the video screen, and the voice speaker showed no significant difference between the two. For the eye fixations, during the pick and place tasks, participants glanced more at the video screen and the 3D avatar than the voice speaker, but in total fixations were all under 1 second. So we could say that in general they were not distracting. Now, during the interviews, the video screen captured 45% of gaze time, the 3D avatar 24%, and the voice speaker only 10%. This shows that richer visual cues held the attention much more. Okay, now I'll present our hypothesis and the results. So our first hypothesis was that the video screen would feel more consistent with the real-world experience. This was confirmed directly from our questionnaires. And also participants rated it as the most natural and easiest to adjust to. The picture that shows the graph is actually from our interview analysis. Okay, for our second hypothesis, the hypothesis was that the users would feel more comfortable with the video screen during the interview. Again, this was confirmed. It was rated as the easiest to adjust to, the most comfortable for communication, and most desirable for longer conversations. Our third hypothesis was that the 3D avatar would be the most preferred method overall. This was partly confirmed. Most users found the video screen to be the most effective method, while most of them considered the 3D avatar to be the most fun. When asked which was their favorite, the answers were actually split between the two, with the voice speaker being the least preferred, of course. Right. And for our last hypothesis, we believe that none of the methods would actually cause some high-intensity breaks in presence. And this was also confirmed by our interviews. The users reported no breaks in presence at all with the voice speaker. One minor break in presence with 3D avatar due to its unnatural movements. And for the video screen, actually, there were 13 users that reported that they reminded them of the real world, but not in a distracting way. Okay, when comparing the methods during our interviews, we noticed some trends in the comments of the users. So for the video screen, 43% of the users noted that they could see the facial expressions, and so the communication was easier and more effective. On the other hand, 32% felt that it didn't fit the virtual environment, as it was a window to the real world. And this is why, in the previous slide, certain people also thought that they reminded them of the physical world. Okay, for the 3D avatar, 45% thought that it fits the V, and 32% that it was fun. However, nearly 60% criticized its unnatural appearance and movements. Some of them also mentioned the uncanny valley effect. And for the voice speaker, 37% of the users described it as non-intrusive and non-distracting, but however, 26% said that it was impersonal or even plain boring sometimes. Well, in general, there were many comments and behaviors that confirmed the importance of in-VR interviews. We noticed that about half of the users were demonstrating their point using their virtual hands, solving things related to the tasks while talking to the evaluator in VR. There was also an interesting quote from one of our users during our interview in the real world that said that they would love to do this interview actually again inside the VR, where they could explain their points more clearly by showing stuff inside the V. Okay, now to conclude, the task performance didn't differ across methods. All methods supported smooth communication without any strong breaks in presence. The video screen is the most promising, though the 3D avatar and the voice speaker also have some use cases. For example, we consider the 3D avatar to be a better fit when some demonstration is needed inside the V, for example, with a more complex task. While the voice speaker is a good fit for a short and simple task, as it requires little to none development effort, actually. So what should we use? Well, the best method actually depends on study goals. And more research is needed, actually. But integrating communication methods, communication tools directly in VR clearly enhances immersion and minimizes breaks in presence, which leads to more reliable self-reports. Thank you very much. That's not the last slide, but anyway, there it is.
Thank you very much for being also on time, but for the very interesting work. So any questions, please?
Yes. Thank you for the presentation. Interesting stuff. And what I wanted to ask you, actually, it's because of your results that users preferred the screen more than the avatar because of the uncanny valley effect. Have you considered volumetric capturing of the external member? So as in like with, there are some works.
Sorry, you said volumetric?
Volumetric capturing, like point clouds. The external member could be captured using depth cameras and be transmitted within the virtual environment. That kind of breaks the uncanny valley effect, I guess. Photorealistic. Yeah, yes, photorealistic. I've seen some results. They're not like super great, but it sort of like transfers the individual to the virtual place without having that effect, the uncanny valley. Yeah, basically, if you have considered that.
Okay, so we have considered it, to be honest, and we have considered more things like putting the evaluator with their own VR, so that tracking would be more accurate, would do more stuff, actually engage with the user. But it would be more difficult from the development side to actually do it. And this is an exploratory study, so we wanted to just set the base, and we want to study more and do more iterations of other communication methods. And actually, all the methods had something to be improven. Even the TV to be okay. Even this one, most people said that it didn't fit the virtual reality, and they proposed methods to actually make it fit more, like put it on an actual TV so it can open and it'd be more engaging and fun. But yeah, the 3D avatar had some problems, and to be completely honest with you, the avatar I was handling it while talking to the user. Like I was talking and then pressing a button so he can do an animation together, and it was pretty complex and weird. But yeah, to be honest, more work has to be done for it, and we're in an early stage right now.
There is a balance that one has to keep in terms of, first of all, the risk benefit, of development, or putting so much into developing the evaluator, because essentially it's the evaluator and the form of the evaluator, and also the distraction that very super realistic with animations, photorealistic, very engaging, etc. evaluator. Let's not forget that the evaluator is a side. Yes, we want to evaluate the task within the virtual environment. So you don't want to really put the spotlight on the evaluator, on the form of the evaluator itself. So one has to balance these.
And to add something on that, we actually did another study for it to actually test it. And we have to put our development efforts to actually make the study. It was about how you can grab stuff with different grasping methods using the controller. So most of our development were on this, and some were on the other. It was like 2 studies in one. So yeah.
I don't have experience in the. And also, I might have missed it. So to have a break in presence means that he's present, whatever presence means, philosophically or theoretically, or whatever the field has assumed, right? So you tested first that he is indeed present, and then you saw the break in presence.
Well, presence is actually a concept in VR that is how engaged, how immersed you are in the virtual environment. So we couldn't actually measure it right now. What's your presence level? Because it's something that it's not measurable that easily. But presence is what makes the users, I don't know, getting lost and not remembering the physical world at all, getting bumped on the walls and stuff. This is what makes it happen. Yeah. So in order to measure it more easily, we use the breaks in presence. That is in the literature something that help us measure it, measure the real-time changes in presence. So if we don't have that much reports of breaks in presence, that means that they were present.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I learned something. Breaking presence is a shortcut. Okay.
Thank you.
Next up is